Okay, I'm just gonna start with the introduction and people can just come in as and when um, they are here. So yeah, hi everyone, welcome to our webinar. My name is Danica and I'm a talent mobility consultant here at Terra Talent. So about me, I moved to Berlin almost 2 years ago now. And as well as working here at Terra Talent, I also have some personal experience with the migration process, just like most of my colleagues. So yeah, that does help with our work. The webinar today is entitled Digging Deeper Visa and Residence Permits, which is a follow-up to our last webinar, which was entitled Visa Basics, which, if you haven't seen, is on our YouTube channel. So in this webinar, we're going to be digging deeper, looking specifically at the opportunity card. But before I go on, we are recording this webinar for the purpose of uploading to our YouTube channel later on. And it will also be on our website, talent.terratalents.de. So just to make a point there, we did have to change our domain. So just so you know that if any of you were already familiar with our website and our talent website, it is now Terra Talents with an S. Just so you know. Yeah, so we decided to tackle this topic because we do get the feeling that there is a lot of confusion about the different visas and residence permits available and the various processes for each respective card. So the opportunity card is pretty new. It was implemented just a few months ago, and it hasn't really taken off quite the way the government expected it to, for a myriad of reasons, which I will go over today. So here is what will be covered today, and this is the agenda. So I'm going to discuss Terra Talent and who we are and our network. I will then provide a basic overview of Germany, its culture and its industry landscape. Then I'll introduce Burkhard, who is the co-founder of Terra Talent, and he will provide a kind of legal background to the Skilled Immigration Act and the three pillars. And then I will come back in and zoom in on one of those pillars, which sort of encapsulates the opportunity card. And here I'll discuss eligibility criteria and the point system, financial requirements, and what are your options after the opportunity card. And then the fifth point, Jobkarte or Flopkarte. So this is reference to a news article that came out about a week ago now. And here I'm going to discuss like some cons to the opportunity card and perhaps why it hasn't really gotten the traction it expected. So about us, we are a consultancy which is trying to bridge the gap between German companies and talent pools outside of Germany against the backdrop of the labour shortage crisis and the ageing population in Germany. So just to specify, we aren't a headhunting company. We aim to build this bridge through creating networks. So our founders have been on various trips to build these networks. And as you can see from this slide, and you will see on the next couple of slides, we do already have a pretty good network, which is growing. So to highlight one of those, we are closely coordinating with Black in Tech Berlin, which is a diaspora of Black IT talent in Berlin and beyond, which was established to address the underrepresentation of Black professionals in the technology sector. We also teamed up with, there you can see, Collaborate, which is also a platform for future work. To zoom in on one of our partners, this is the Africa Berlin Tech Network. This is a Senate-organized initiative and facilitates the exchange of resources, talent, and ideas between select African nations and Berlin through various events and networks. So as you can see there, highlighted at the bottom, there are the targeted countries, so Rwanda, Egypt, Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, and Kenya. We are also well connected across Europe, as you can see here. This is through our partner, the European Talent Mobility Forum. So it isn't only Germany that's interested in talent pools outside of Europe. These are all examples of investment and promotion agencies that are trying to somewhat mitigate the impact of Europe's aging population through networks and bridging gaps between international talent pools and European companies. Just to also add as well, if you have any questions, I forgot to mention at the beginning, if you do have any questions, you're free to write them in the chat throughout the process of this, and my colleagues can try and answer them, and we can address some of them at the end if we have time, just as an extra point there. But yeah, moving a bit further afield outside of Germany and Europe, we have some various partnerships with different schools based in different countries across Africa. So these are schools which aim to build tech skills of people from all across the African continent with Co-Train and if I pronounce this right, Sinetheta, based in Ghana. Utiva in Nigeria, for example, collaborates in Uganda. So this is sort of to show our internationally growing network, which is pretty exciting. So to come back to Germany, here's some background information about Germany. So there are perhaps some things that you already knew, and perhaps already had some kind of preconceived idea of what Germany is like, whether that be its football culture, cars and Mercedes or BMW or Oktoberfest, for example, which isn't a German holiday. My colleague, my boss Burkhard mentioned the other day, it's a Bavarian holiday, not a German holiday. So that's important for you to know. But yeah, so while Germany has been flying relatively below the radar, so most international talents do choose or opt to go to, say, the UK or the US or Canada. But Germany has been getting a bit more attention in recent years. And this is because of a few factors. So, for example, its Central European location, so it shares borders with 9 countries, which makes it attractive for foreign investment. It also has a large economy. So there it says the largest in Europe and the 4th largest globally. It's the most populous country in the European Union, and a decent portion of that, or with a decent portion of that having migration routes or having come from abroad themselves. Perhaps you already know something about Germany's industrial capabilities. So it's pretty well known for its automotive, engineering, and technology sectors. And there are just some extra points of cultural heritage and diversity. So there are many UNESCO World Heritage Sites and castles. So if this is something you're interested in, then it's for you. And my light has just turned on. Okay, sorry. And the education system. So here we have a good quality education system with almost all public universities offering tuition-free education. But just so you know, I mean, this isn't all courses. So although a lot of universities are offering more English taught courses now, a lot of these are private. So it's important to go in with the expectation that all tuition is free. Just a lot of the free tuition is taught in German. So yeah, that's just a little bit of background about Germany, but now to delve a bit into how the industry landscape looks in Germany. So you may already know some of the big names provided under the corporates heading there. So BMW and Mercedes, as I already mentioned, Volkswagen, Siemens. But looking at the employee landscape, around 40% of Germany's 45 million employees work for these corporates. So these are classed as like your large or your big companies and have more than 1,000 employees. But the backbone of the German industry, however, is the SMEs, so the small to medium-sized enterprises. So from a European perspective, they are moderately sized with up to 1,000 employees, but they do account for about 52% of Germany's entire economic output and employ around 14 million workers. So yeah, they're pretty, I would say, relatively unknown amongst non-Germans. But due to the corporates being pretty competitive, it is a good idea for if you're searching for a job to consider these SMEs. So in one of our previous webinars, looking for a job in Germany, we do touch up on that a bit more. But there's also the smaller companies at the bottom there. So these make up around the remaining 20% of the German workforce. So yes, there are many different options for you to consider. So just to provide a bit of background to what we'll be discussing today and the reasoning behind the implementation of the Opportunity Card is the, as I mentioned already, the aging population and the demographic change of Germany. So just like the rest of Europe, Germany is facing an ongoing shortage of skilled workers due to demographic changes. So as the baby boomer generation retires and the German labor market will then experience an ongoing labor shortage, there I wrote 12.9 million people over the next 15 years, reaching statutory retirement age. And this makes up around 1/7 of the total labour force. So it's a pretty significant number. So as of right now, there are about 45.7 million people of working age in Germany. But by 2060, I was reading, it is estimated that it will go down to 40.4 million. So yeah, pretty significant. Another issue that comes with Germany's aging population is the need for more nursing staff. So this is a sector that already faces a shortage of skilled labour as it is. And another point I haven't written on there is that apprenticeships are becoming less attractive to young people. I think last year, 2023, about 35% of positions were left unfilled, which impacted the nursing sector significantly. So here there is a lot of opportunity, for skilled workers from abroad. And the last point there kind of really encapsulates how dire the need for skilled labour is. So there are, it says there 400,000 workers are needed per year to fill the gap. So just to provide some background to the Skilled Immigration Act and the three pillars is Burkhardt, and I will return in a little bit and go into the Opportunity Card.
Thank you, Dinika. Thank you very much for this insight on Germany. Yeah, my name is Burkhard. My background is that I worked for the city of Berlin for nearly 20 years. I worked for the Business Development Agency in Berlin, and here in the field of the labor market policies. Berlin has always been able to attract a lot of foreign talent just because of the branding of Berlin. So Berlin is always, there's a nice quote from one of our former mayors saying Berlin is poor but sexy. I guess to a certain extent there was some truth in that. And so a lot of young people just coming to Berlin, and with that we worked a lot of welcome services, And the most wanted service we offered for the city was the visa service, because this is mostly the biggest pain point to get a visa, a work permit coming to Berlin. So I set up a business visa service here for the city of Berlin together with the immigration authorities, worked on that. I have never been a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. I always try to be into that topic on a pragmatic background to see what is the solution, how we can work for that. Visa in Germany, and I just give you one example. The Berlin authorities, they give out an handout on how to go and to cope with the immigration law in detail. And this handout has more than 900 pages. And I always say nobody can read 900 pages or even understand 900 pages. So German immigration law always used to be something which is for very specialists, for lawyers, for the authorities. It's super complicated, it's long-winded. Sometimes I tend to say the immigration law has to be a law to prevent people coming to Germany. You also have to also understand some German parts like work councils, unifications like that. They try to protect Germans not to lose their jobs against highly qualified talent coming from outside. So that was always a piece of prevent. It's not, so to say, to welcome, but to protect people. This is what you still have to also keep in mind. And I always also feel unhappy when you talk about visa, that we have the European Union. Yes, we are pretty much aligned on very much of those laws. But when it comes for visa issues, every single member state of European Union is making their own procedures. So if you apply for a visa in France, that's nice, but that does not mean anything to Germany. And if you apply for a visa in Germany, that does not have any positive or negative consequences if you're going to Italy, Spain, or Portuguese afterwards. I always feel that's not a good thing, because this kind of free movement around a European Union is something what we Europeans love. But when it comes for visa, it's not that easy. On the next slide, we and Dinika presented those kind of numbers, statistics. So Germany needs to attract foreign talent on nearly all levels, whether that is on academic, non-academic, or whatever, and in all sectors. This is why then even the government said, okay, we have to make our immigration law more friendly, more welcome. And they set up the new Skilled Immigration Act 2 years ago, and it was coming into force in 3 steps. The latest step, I think, was around March, May this year, and the opportunity card is one of those points, and Denika will elaborate on that. So I myself do not have a lot of expertise with that kind of new paragraph, because it's brand new, but that was one of those points. When the politicians discussed that, we always looked on Canada, and Canada was said to be to have a very elaborate point system, and we would like to have something similar. And this is why we came also up with the Chancenkarte. But this Skilled Immigration Act was really doing things to the better, for sure. What you also have to keep in mind is when we talk about visa, that is, we Germans do have mainly 2 educational levels. So we have the immigration, the academic level, going to university, graduate, and have a bachelor or a master, which is perhaps 20% of the workforce in Germany having a university degree. The overall, the majority of the German workforce, around 80%, they have this, what we German call duale Ausbildung, apprenticeship, or technical practical training you're doing with a company and in a school. So sometimes education do not match. My preferred example is always being a bookkeeper in Germany needs, you don't need to have a university degree to be a bookkeeper in Germany. You just go for this training program, duale Ausbildung. In other countries, you can have a bachelor for this kind of bookkeeping in between. So this is also where you have to see when you're coming from a third country on what job we are talking about, and it does that match to the German system in that sense. On the next slide, just for, because this is very often mixed up, it's not that important, but I would like to mention that when you look or you just Google immigration questions, sometimes you have the term visa, and sometimes you have the term residency, work permit. Visa is a term which is referring to an embassy. So once you have to go to an embassy can only be issuing a visa, which is a permit in that sense, but it's always limited in time. Mostly it's given for 6 months or at a maximum for 1 year. With a visa, you can come to Germany, and then that is converted to a work permit, and later on perhaps to a resident card. So if you come across this kind of terms, be also always aware visa is for entry, permit is for staying here in Germany. Don't mix that up. And on the next slide, a little bit on what has changed in the new immigration law. And we now have 3 pillars. Before that, we mostly focused on the skilled workers. So it was about highly qualified immigrants, the typical Indian engineer, IT software engineer coming to Germany, applying for a blue card, and then getting a work permit as a blue card. Now we also see that perhaps people only with a education, with a work experience might also be welcome in Germany. And latest, even if you have the potential to be or become a talented workforce, then we have the potential pillar. So the second and third one are quite new, much more elaborate than before. Before it was nearly impossible to come to Germany without a university degree, which is accepted here in Germany. This has changed a lot, and what was also a very good achievement is before the overall blue card threshold was about 56,000 euros as a gross salary per year, and now they lowered it to 45,000. So there was an enormous lower download or cutting down of the threshold just to attract more people toward that. And on the next slide, just to give that fully picture, when we're talking then on the opportunity card, it is mostly that people, or there are like 2 doors, even if you talk about the immigration law. The first door is you have a work contract already in hand. So you agreed with a employer on a salary contract. And then you have like these, most of them would like to have the blue card because blue card makes it easy when it becomes for language requirements or bringing families. Then we have below that the blue card for the shortage occupations, IT, for example, healthcare industries, things like that. But even if you don't fulfill the requirements for the blue card, there is a regular work permit. So the blue card is a work permit, but it's like a specific one. but there you can also apply for a regular work permit. And the things are changing in the moment you say, I don't have a work contract at hand. Um, Before the new Immigration Act, it was nearly impossible. It's just like this job seeker thing where you just try to now to come to Germany. And now here, the opportunity card is open up doors to come into Germany, which was not possible before. So this is always, you have to keep in mind, once you have a work contract, it's mostly that you will be eligible for one of those points, 1 to 3. If you don't have a work contract, then opportunity card might be an option. And then I'm handing back to Denika to go in the details of what is the opportunity card according to requirements and possibilities.
Thank you, Burkhard, for providing some background there. I'm going to carry on and just give you some ins and outs of the opportunity card. So, what is the opportunity card, or in German, the Chancenkarte? So it's a residence permit that allows workers from third countries to enter Germany in order to seek gainful employment. It's also, I mean, it's not only to seek employment, you can also use it to search for measures to recognize foreign professional qualifications in Germany. This is another point. It's issued for a maximum of 1 year, and here it's really important. This is a really important point. It's issued for this amount of time, provided that the holder is able to support themselves for that period. So I do have a slide that goes into the financial requirements in more detail, but this is something for you to just now understand for right now. Another point there, a point system is used to determine whether you are eligible based on your qualifications, knowledge, and circumstances. And again, I have another slide that looks at the point system in more detail, but this is just a little bit of an overview. So eligibility. So here I've presented 2 different ways that you can obtain the opportunity card. So on the left there, we have the so-called skilled worker option. The skilled worker is someone who has either a German qualification, so it can be academic or non-academic, or if the qualification was not obtained in Germany, the skilled worker should have a qualification that is fully recognized in Germany. So the recognition process is something we could very easily do another hour webinar on in and of itself. But in basic terms, it is the process of checking if your foreign obtained qualification is equivalent to the German counterpart. So for one example is someone who has, in the case of non-academic vocational qualifications or qualifications in regulated professions, they have gone through the formal recognition procedure. So to clarify there, I mentioned regulated profession. So this in Germany is someone like a teacher or a physician or a nurse, for example. These are typical examples of regulated professions. And for someone in one of these positions, it's legally required to have a professional recognition. For the non-regulated professions, so say, for example, like computer scientists, for example, you need a statement of comparability. So this is perhaps, a good future webinar topic to go into recognition a little deeper. But anyway, in the case of non-regulated professions, so typically people who have academic qualifications, it needs to be proven that they have a positive rating of their qualification in the ANABIN database. So you can search ANABIN in Google and you search your institution. And if your institution has a H+ rating, then it's typically a good sign. It means that your qualification would be recognized. Another option is again the statement of comparability, which you can obtain at the Central Office for Foreign Education, or the ZAB. So in summary, option 1 essentially means you have a qualification that is fully recognized, and if that is the case for you, then you do automatically qualify for the opportunity card. But there are other hurdles that come with this. So even though you do, automatically qualify, there are, for example, the financial hurdles, which I will go into more detail about in a moment. Oh gosh, excuse me. Sorry. So the second option is for those who don't have a fully recognized foreign qualification in Germany. And this is the scoring system. So to obtain an opportunity card through this route, you must acquire 6 points. So there's a point at the bottom. So 6 points in the scoring system. But you do have to fulfill some basic requirements, which I've listed here. So the first is that you have a state-recognized qualification. So whether a foreign academic degree or a non-academic vocational qualification of at least 2 years duration, and it has to be recognized by the country in which it was obtained. Or you can have a non-academic vocational qualification issued by a German Chamber of Commerce abroad. So there's a category A, I think, qualification. So to find out whether your foreign qualification is recognized by the state of origin, you would need an assessment of the ZAB, so the Central Office of Foreign Education. So this is a different procedure to the statement of comparability, but again, I won't get into that because it could add another, we don't have time for that. But all you need to know now is that to find out if your qualification is recognized in the country of origin, you have to contact your the ZAB. The second basic requirement for the option 2 is the language requirement. So here you have 2 options. So they're written German at least A1 level or English at B2. So no, it's just really interesting. It's either or. And then the last point is at least 6 points in the scoring system. So to just go into, before I talk about the financial requirements, just to talk about the point system. So here there are many, many different ways that you can acquire points. So, and there is the Anabin link. So if anyone who's interested and wants to check their qualification, you can search it with this link. So, yeah, as discussed already, you can acquire up to 6 points for a university degree or qualification. So 6 points if it is fully recognized, and it's 4 points if it's partially recognized. So depending on which industry you have a qualification in, you can obtain another point if it's in a shortage occupation or profession that's in demand. So in German, it's a Mangelberufe. So some examples of shortage occupations are, say, physicians or, again, nurses. And these are also regulated professions, just to highlight that again. And IT specialists, for example. The next one, you can acquire up to 3 points if you have work experience that matches your formal qualifications. So it's you can get 2 points if you can demonstrate that you have at least 2 years experience within the last 5 years, or it's 3 points if you have at least 5 years within the last 7 years. Those numbers are confusing. Another point is being a certain age also can get you points. So if you are 35 or younger, it's 2 points, or 1 point if you are between 36 and 40 years old. As discussed already, there's the language requirement. So depending on your level, you can acquire up to 4 points. So for example, A1 German, although it's a basic requirement for the point system, for the option 2, the A1 doesn't get you any points. So it's once you reach the A2 level, then that's when you start acquiring points. So it's 1 point for A2, 2 for B1, and 3 for B2 or more. And then an additional point if you have English at C1 or above. Your previous stays in Germany can also get you points. So if you lived in Germany for a continuous period of at least 6 months in the last 5 years, you receive 1 point. So an example of these stays is like a study or work stay, or if you came to study a language, for example. So tourism stays don't count as part of this option, I'm afraid. And the last point there is the skilled worker potential of your spouse or life partner. They can also get you a point. So if your partner meets the requirements for an opportunity card, you will be awarded 1 point. But I would say beware. I mean, it does seem pretty easy to acquire the 6 points and therefore qualify for the opportunity card. But in classic, German fashion, there are, many bureaucratic and financial hurdles to consider. And one of those is the financial requirement. So no matter which route you want to take to obtain the opportunity card, whether that be option 1 as a skilled worker with a fully recognized qualification, or option 2 with the point system, you need to prove that you have sufficient financial resources to fund your job search in Germany. So during the visa process, you can demonstrate this, for example, with a Sperrkonto or a blocked bank account. And this has to contain a minimum of 1,027 euros per month for the duration of your stay. So, for example, if you want to stay for 6 months, this is 6,100. If you want to stay for 1 year, it's over 12,000. So this is the main hurdle when it comes to the opportunity card, because most people who have that money sitting who can have that money sitting in a bank account would perhaps use it for other things. But of course, this is one of the ways that you can show that you have sufficient funds. But there are other options. So the second one there I've highlighted is the declaration of commitment. And this is a commitment that should be or must be submitted by people living in Germany to a foreigner's authority. And this declaration obliges the sponsor, so the person who will who says is committed to looking after you financially. They guarantee the financial support of the visa applicant during their stay in Germany. So while this option can be more straightforward for skilled workers compared to the blocked account option, it does come with its own risks too. So, for example, the sponsor could potentially incur, thousands in costs. So, in case of an accident, for example, and they would have to cover like health expenses, for example, on behalf of the visa applicant. So it is crucial that the sponsor is aware of these financial risks before, signing. But there is a third option, and this is the statement of employment. So in comparison to the job seeker visa, which I'll discuss in just in a moment, the opportunity card allows you to work 1 or more part-time jobs totaling 20 hours per week. But if you have already a part-time work contract at the time of your visa application, this can be submitted as proof of sufficient financial means. So depending on how much you earn in those 20 hours, you should meet the minimum requirement. So this can also be submitted. So this is you submit a statement of employment. And another point there I've written is you are able to participate in try-out periods. And these tryout periods, you're allowed no more than 2 weeks. But these trials have to be in line with your qualification or be aimed towards starting vocational training, for example, or be connected to a training measure according to your partial recognition training. So you are limited. You can't just like do trial periods. Say if you have a qualification in languages, you can't do trial periods and say, you know, chemical engineering, for example. But this is also another option available to you if the blocked account or the declaration of commitment options are too difficult. So here are the possible options after. So once you've been here for a while and you decide you want to stay in Germany, but you don't know what your options are. These are the many different options for changing your opportunity card into. As long as you you still need to fulfill the basic requirements of these cards too. So each card has its own process, and each permit has its own process and has its own requirements. I'm not going to go into too much detail now as we don't have the time, but if you have finally, for example, found qualified employment, which is the first column there, you can apply for then the EU Blue Card, a visa for skilled workers, or the visa for professionally experienced workers. Or in a case where the employment you have found does not fulfill the conditions of any of those work permits, there is the opportunity of extending the opportunity card. But again, you need to prove, again, your financial, you have sufficient financial means and all of that kind of stuff, but you can extend it up to 2 years. You can also decide, if you decide during this time that you don't want to work and you want to go back into studying, you can also go for the vocational training or visa for studying. And again, for these options, you do need to have, you do need to fulfill the basic conditions of these. So you have to have a concrete vocational training position before you can change, or you have to have a concrete offer from a university. So for example, you already have a bachelor's and you want to move to a master's, then you have to have your option. You have to have your an offer from the university for the specific study program you want to pursue. So and that there are other conditions for these. So again, for international students, there is also a blocked account. You do have to prove your financial means as well, the same as the opportunity card. So this is something that you need to remember. You can also, if you decide, if you've gone for the opportunity card using the point system, meaning you have a partial recognition, you may decide that you want to get your qualification fully recognized. So you may, you know, take up some qualifications here in Germany to get your qualification fully recognized. That's also an option. And the last one is if you end up, while you're here, you manage to become self-employed, then this is also an option for you. So just to clarify, I briefly mentioned job seeker visa before. So for those of you that maybe have some basic understanding about the different options available and in Germany, you may be thinking, well, what's the point of the opportunity card when a job seeker visa exists? The point is that the opportunity card is in some ways has a more lenient eligibility criteria than the job seeker visa. So, for example, with regards to qualifications, which is the first row there, with the job seeker visa, requires that you have a fully recognized qualification here in Germany, whereas the opportunity card, as already mentioned, allows partially recognized qualifications as part of its point system, which was the option 2. So again, for the job seeker visa, I mean, for the two options, they have different language requirements. So for the job seeker visa, you have to have a minimum B1 level in German. And if you want to apply for vocational training, for example, in Germany, you have to have B2. But for the opportunity card, as discussed already, minimum A1 in German or B2 in English, and depending on your German level, you acquire points. So of course, there again, for the opportunity card, it's much more lenient. The visa duration is also different. So the job seeker visa, you're limited to 6 months, whereas with the opportunity card, you have up to 1 year. But this is, of course, if you fulfill the I don't know why the light keeps going off. Sorry about that. You do have to fulfill the minimum financial requirements and show your proof of funds. So for the job seeker visa, it's 5,682. And for the opportunity card, if you decide to go for the whole year, then it's 12,324 euros for the year. This is if you go for the blocked account option. And the final point of comparison is whether paid work is permitted. So with the job seeker visa, no, it's not. But with the opportunity card, you are permitted to work up to 20 hours, as I mentioned already. And this can also be used as proof of financial means at the point of application. So on our website, as I mentioned at the beginning, talent.terratalents.de, we do have a opportunity card calculator, which my colleague really brilliantly built up for us. And here on the homepage, I've highlighted in red where you can find it. And in here, you put in your nationality, your language skills, work experience, and here you can find out if you are eligible. So I did provide a couple of examples. So this is for someone who has a fully recognized qualification. So if this is you, then you don't need to do it anymore. It's here. So here you get the, as you can see in the second screenshot, if your qualification is fully recognized, that's 6 points. And then here you get the congratulations box. You qualify. But again, you do need to have a blocked account or proof of financial means and the proof of language proficiency, so English or German, and these need to be shown during your visa interview. And this is an example of an unsuccessful so this is an example of someone who doesn't get the right amount of points, that it doesn't reach the 6 points requirement. So there they are a qualification holder, but it's only partially recognized, but they have at least 2 years of experience, which is all well and good. But here you can see that they have A1 German proficiency and only B1 English proficiency. So here they don't meet the minimum language requirement, meaning they are not eligible. But here on our website, I don't know if you can see there in the fifth screenshot to the right of the screen, there are some schools there where you can fill in any skills gaps with some vocational training. I mean, this can be done anywhere, but these are, people schools that we are connected with. As I mentioned at the beginning. So there you can fill in any skills gaps. We can also advise you on potential ways you can fill in any skills gaps as well. So all in all, to finish off, I'm going to mention about the Flopkarte, which was how the opportunity card was called in a newspaper article a few days ago. So we do often see the pros of the opportunity card, and it's often marketed and promoted as this, shiny new thing that makes it super easy for skilled workers to come to Germany. But as we can see, it's really extraordinarily difficult to fulfill the basic requirements. So in many respects, it can be considered, a flop card. So here I've provided some numbers at the bottom of the screen. So to date, only just under 2,560 applications, which averages at around 590 per month, have been received. And this is what I meant at the beginning, that the opportunity card hasn't really received the traction that the government expected. So they expected around 2,500 applications per month, which would have been up to now around 10,000. And they've received only just over a quarter of that. So and this is because it is very difficult to meet the conditions. So there are still too many regulations. The law is very complex, and it's very new as well. So even for people who have an understanding of it, it is constantly developing, and so it is difficult for even people who live here, for example. And the process is the second box there is still excruciatingly long. So there are still too many institutions that are involved. So even from the very beginning, having your qualifications recognized, for example, is a huge process in and of itself. Proving your financial means is a long process. So you're looking at a long period of time before even getting the card, or even before having the required conditions to even begin the application process. So adding on to that, the long waiting times at the German consulates, there's no digital services, so and the official, the administrative language is German, so it's can it really be considered an easier option? And in some ways, yes. I mean, in comparison to the job seeker visa, it is an easier option. But it's still very difficult to meet the requirements. But there has been a pretty good success rate amongst applicants. So out of those who have applied, I think it was around 85% are successful. But if we refer back to those three pillars that Burkhard mentioned before, this is the skilled worker pillar. So these are your other options. So as Burkhard mentioned before, this is for people who already have a work contract. So these are two different options: the EU Blue Card, the Blue Card for shortage occupations, the IT Blue Card, or the regular work permit. But these, I'm not going to go into much detail. Burkhard has already discussed these a little bit, and we are running out of time. So before I finish, I just want to mention our talent services. So if there are any questions, I mean, we are running out of time now, but we do have these services where you can ask us questions. So if you have any specific questions pertaining to your personal circumstances, you are welcome to email us at our talent email, which is talent@terratalents.de. You can also look on our website, because we do provide many services specifically for talent who are considering or have made the decision to move to Germany and work here. So just to give you access to us and to kind of support you on your journey to Germany, we can call it. So these are some support services that we do offer. So job search strategies and application support, adapting your CV and cover letter to German standards, an advisory service on visa. And we do have different services. So we have the free one, which is like a free, we have our free community, which is essentially a WhatsApp community for communications. So there we share tips on keeping you up to date on upcoming webinars, events, scholarship opportunities, any interesting goings on. For example, we also offer consultation sessions. So these are 60-minute one-to-one sessions. And here in these sessions, we can discuss your specific circumstances and try to work out the best options for you. So for example, if you're having trouble finding a job, we can help you with like a job search strategy, customizing your CV. We also have 2 different career services. So one of those is our basic career service, and all of these you can find on our website and more details. I'm just trying to give a quick overview before we finish. And this includes membership in a curated online community with live updates on, for example, changes in immigration law. This is one of the services that's offered as part of this service. It also includes the consultation option and exclusive online webinars and workshops on employment and labour rights. And we have also the premium career services, which are a little bit more expensive. It's €250 for the year, and this includes all the basic career services, with an addition updates on job opportunities. We also offer a mock interview, training, accommodation integration support, and career coaching. And we also offer 2 tech services, so services specifically tailored for IT specialists. So these services are designed to guide you through the required standard for the German labour market. So these include an automated IT skills evaluation, and this is an in-depth and quick assessment of your IT skills through our proprietary online tool. And here you can receive a personalized report detailing your readiness for the German market, and you can receive any recommendations on bridging any skill gaps. The second service that is tailored to the IT specialists is a one-to-one career coaching. This is a personalized coaching session focusing on your career goals. It includes a CV review, LinkedIn optimization, and tailored advice on succeeding in the German IT job market. So these services do cost €50 and €65 respectively, and you can apply for any of these services on our talent website, which you can access there with the QR code in the bottom corner. So we've now reached the hour. I would advise, if you do have any questions, so I feel like maybe you would have questions that really do pertain to your personal circumstances. As I said already, this law is very new, and it's very difficult if you specify your specific circumstances for us to really know how to advise straight away. We'd have to, look up the regulations. But yeah, I mean, that's the hour. I don't know if there are, I think Burkhard and Paul have been in the chat.
Yeah, we are looking in the chat. There is one comment we're just answering. So if there is more, just drop that, so we can be shortly answering that.
But yeah, that's everything. I think that was a lot of information. It's very there are lots of different aspects to the opportunity card, and I think even after this hour, I still haven't mentioned everything that is to mention. Like I said, the law is very complicated, but yeah, I hope that it cleared some things up for some of you. But yeah, if you have any questions, we'll dedicate a couple of minutes now to answer some. And like I said, our email is open for questions.
Perhaps thank you, Danica. I mentioned earlier the 900 pages. I think 10 out of them we covered. We don't want to be pessimistic. Immigration is complicated, but there are solutions. So hopefully there is some information. There was one question. We can share the slides. If you send us emails at terratalent.de, we can share the slides. Happy to collaborate further. Thank you very much.
Yes, and we'll be we are recording this, so if there's anything that you may have missed, it will also be uploaded onto our YouTube and our website as well. But here's some contact details there as well. But yeah, if there are no questions, then we'll end it there. But yeah, thank you everyone for coming. I hope it was informative and I've cleared some things up for you. And again, the light's gone off, so now that's an indication to finish. But thank you, and I hope you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.